All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into some seriously thought-provoking stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're tackling Towards a Materialist Theology by philosopher Slavoj Žižek.
That's right.
You know that article in Angelaki that had everyone buzz in?
Yeah.
It all starts with a real-world controversy. Pope Benedict VI comments on Islam back in 2006.
Right.
So Žižek uses that controversy as a launch pad to explore some really deep questions about reason and faith.
Yeah.
And you know how they intersect with modern science?
Absolutely.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, a wild ride.
And you know me, I'm all about those wild rides.
Of course.
So remind me, what was it about the Pope's remarks that got everyone so riled up?
Well, the Pope argued that Islam sees God as totally beyond human comprehension.
Right.
And not bound by the rules of logic.
Okay.
He even implied that this could explain a tendency towards violence in Islam.
Oh, wow.
Then he contrasts this with Christianity, where God is intrinsically tied to reason, the Greek concept of logos.
Okay, but here's the thing. Didn't the Pope also condemn secularism and Darwinian evolution as irrational?
He did.
That seems a bit contradictory, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly Žižek's point. He's basically saying, hang on, what kind of reason are we even talking about here?
Okay, so what is the Pope's reason according to Žižek?
Well, Žižek argues that it's actually a pre-modern view of the universe.
Oh.
Like the idea that everything is perfectly ordered,
Right.
has a purpose, and fits into a grand, harmonious whole.
Like a giant cosmic puzzle where every piece fits perfectly in its place.
Exactly. And now get this, Žižek brings in an unexpected ally to support his critique. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
That's not who I'd expect to be on the same page as the Pope about,
Right.
well, anything, really.
It seems counterintuitive, but in an interview, Ahmadinejad actually echoes the Pope's call for unity
Wow.
between reason, logic, and spirituality.
Okay.
He goes even further, claiming that Islam is more logical than Christianity because of its emphasis on a totally transcendent God who directs everything rationally.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. How does he justify that claim?
Well, he argues that the Christian focus on love makes God too human, too influenced by emotion.
Right.
In Islam, God's will is absolute, and everything, even things that seem bad to us,
Right.
ultimately serves his perfectly rational plan.
So in the Islamic view, there's no room for questioning or doubting God's plan.
Not really.
Ah.
Žižek illustrates this point by bringing up the case of Mohammed Bouyeri, who murdered Theo van Gogh.
Right.
Bouyeri claimed that even his actions against God were,
Oh, wow.
in a twisted way, still part of God's plan.
Okay.
This concept of a divine plan that encompasses even acts of violence against God is
Yeah.
completely alien to Christian thought.
Wow, that really highlights the stark difference in how these two religions view the relationship between God and human action.
Absolutely, and it shows how appeals to reason can be used to justify wildly different, even opposing viewpoints.
Okay, so we've got the Pope and the Iranian president both advocating for reason,
Right.
but with very different interpretations of what that means.
Exactly.
Where does Žižek go from there?
He brings in another fascinating thinker, G.K. Chesterton.
Okay.
Chesterton believed that Christianity foresaw the exceptions to the law,
Okay.
meaning it acknowledged the possibility of miracles occurring within a rational order.
So it's like saying, okay, the universe generally follows rules,
Right.
but every now and then,
Yeah.
God bends those rules to make something extraordinary happen.
You got it.
Okay.
But Žižek also points out that Chesterton recognized a God who is almost like a curious observer, someone who marvels at the unexplainable wonders of his own creation.
That's a really interesting image.
Yeah.
A God who's not just a rule maker, but also a participant in the wonder of the universe.
Exactly. And here's where things get really mind-bending.
Okay.
Žižek connects this sense of awe in Chesterton's God to the perspective of modern science.
Now, that's a connection I wouldn't have seen coming.
Right.
How does he make that leap?
Think about it. Modern science is constantly uncovering things we thought were impossible, like relativity and quantum physics.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending story of encountering unthinkable realities.
Okay.
That's exactly what Chesterton saw in the universe. A place full of exceptions.
Right.
A place where even something as seemingly ordinary as a horse
Yeah.
is actually a shattering miracle when you really think about it.
So in a way, both Chesterton's God and modern science share this sense of awe and wonder in the face of a universe that constantly defies our expectations.
Precisely. And this leads Žižek to a very profound point. The more we try to explain everything rationally, the more we're forced to acknowledge the existence of things that seem to defy rational explanation.
It's like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly. And that brings us to the next level of Žižek's deep dive, the strange world of quantum physics,
Oh, right.
and what it tells us about the nature of reality itself.
Okay, I'm ready.
Right.
Bring on the quantum weirdness.
Here we go. To grasp how Žižek connects quantum physics to all this,
Okay.
consider a video game.
Okay.
The programmer doesn't need to render every single detail perfectly,
Right.
Only what the player is likely to interact with.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you don't see the contents of a treasure chest until you open it, right?
Precisely. So Žižek asks,
Yeah.
what if our reality operates similarly?
Okay.
Could quantum indeterminacy,
Uh-huh.
the fact that we can't know everything about a particle state with total certainty,
Yeah.
could that be a sign that our reality is, in a sense, incomplete?
Interesting.
Like those parts of the video game world that haven't been fully programmed yet?
That's a pretty wild thought.
It is.
So are we saying that reality isn't as fixed and solid as we think it is?
That's the essence of it.
Wow.
He calls it ontological fuzziness.
Ontological fuzziness.
Yeah, meaning that reality at its most fundamental level
Right.
might not be fully defined.
Okay.
He connects this with another philosopher, Alain Badiou,
Okay.
who argued that reality is made up of complex multiplicities, not just a bunch of simple parts added together.
So instead of thinking of reality as like building with Legos,
Yeah.
where every brick is distinct and separate,
Right.
it's more like a giant interwoven tapestry
Right.
with countless threads overlapping and influencing each other.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And this is a radical departure from thinkers like Kant,
Right.
who believed that simple parts combine to form the complexity of reality.
Right.
Žižek, following Badiou,
Yeah.
suggests something far more intricate and fluid.
Okay. This idea of ontological fuzziness is pretty mind-blowing.
It is.
But if reality is so undefined, where does that leave human consciousness
Right.
and free will?
Yeah.
If everything is in flux, how can we make choices and act in the world?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
Žižek proposes that this very indeterminacy in the quantum realm
Uh-huh.
might actually provide the space for our intentions and desires to influence the physical world. He uses the term teleological causality.
Teleological causality.
The idea that our goals and motivations can shape outcomes.
So it's not about our minds magically overriding the laws of physics?
No.
But rather a more subtle interplay between our intentions and the inherent openness of reality at the quantum level.
Exactly.
Okay.
It suggests a fascinating possibility
Yeah.
for how our subjective experiences and desires
Right.
might interact with the physical world
Okay.
without resorting to supernatural explanations.
Right. It also tackles that fear that neuroscience will reduce us to just biological machines
Right.
by emphasizing the power of appearance.
Yes.
That makes me think about all those times I felt like my emotions were physically affecting me.
Uh-huh.
Like butterflies in my stomach when I'm nervous.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Žižek might say those physical sensations
Right.
are a testament to the power of the phenomenal.
Okay.
How our subjective experiences,
Yeah.
even if they aren't tied to a specific thing in the brain,
Right.
can have real tangible effects.
So instead of trying to pinpoint a consciousness module in the brain,
Right.
we should be focusing on how consciousness itself,
Yeah.
as an experience,
Yes.
interacts with and shapes our physical reality.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this leads to some really intriguing questions
Yeah.
about the nature of free will.
Right.
If reality is fundamentally fuzzy
Yeah.
and open to possibility, what does that mean for our ability to make choices
Exactly.
and shape our own destinies?
It seems like Žižek is suggesting that we might have more agency than we realize.
Possibly.
That the fuzziness of reality actually creates space for us to exert our will
Yeah.
and influence the course of
It's
events.
a fascinating idea.
But there's another big piece of this puzzle we haven't touched on yet.
Right.
Žižek's claim that true atheism is only possible within monotheism.
Right. That's where he really throws a curveball.
Yeah.
He argues that by reducing all those many gods down to one single, all-powerful God,
Yeah.
monotheism opens the door to confronting that one God
Uh-huh.
with the void,
Right.
with the possibility of nothingness.
So in a way, monotheism plants the seeds for atheism
Yeah.
by forcing us to grapple with the question of what lies beyond or outside of God.
Exactly. And he takes it even further,
Okay.
suggesting that monotheism, particularly Christianity,
Okay.
with its concept of a dead God,
Yeah.
might actually contain the seeds of atheism within itself.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah,
A dead God? That sounds like a contradiction in terms.
it does.
What does he mean by that?
It's a complex theological idea,
Okay.
but essentially it refers to the notion that in Christianity, God sacrifices himself,
Okay.
becomes absent in a way for the redemption of humanity.
So there's this built-in tension within Christian thought
Yeah.
between the presence and absence of God.
Right, and Žižek argues that this tension makes Christianity fertile ground
Yeah.
for atheism to emerge.
Okay.
But then he poses a crucial question.
Okay.
What exactly is true atheism? Is it merely the opposite of theism?
Yeah.
A simple rejection of belief in God?
Okay, now I'm really curious. What does he propose as a definition of true atheism? So what is true atheism according to Žižek?
He says it's not just about, like, rejecting the idea of God, you know? It's
Uh-huh.
about a much deeper commitment
Okay.
to shaping your own beliefs
Right.
without relying on any external authority.
Okay.
It's an unbelief.
Uh-huh.
That's still a form of faith, in a way.
That's a really interesting way to frame it.
Yeah.
So true atheism isn't about blindly rejecting all forms of belief.
Right.
It's more about taking responsibility
Yeah.
for constructing your own belief system,
Yeah.
your own sense of meaning and purpose,
Yeah.
without needing a higher power to validate it.
Exactly. And I think that's a really powerful idea,
Yeah.
even for people who consider themselves religious.
Right.
It challenges all of us to
Yeah.
examine the foundations of our beliefs,
Right.
to ask ourselves why we believe what we believe,
Right.
and to be open to revising those beliefs as we learn and grow.
It seems like Žižek is encouraging us to engage in this constant process
Yes,
of questioning and self-discovery,
absolutely.
regardless of whether we identify as atheist, religious, or somewhere in between.
It's about embracing the uncertainty
Yeah.
and complexity of existence,
Right.
rather than seeking out easy answers or clinging to dogma.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He's pushing us to move beyond just this binary of belief versus unbelief,
Exact.
and to embrace a more nuanced and open-minded approach to understanding the world and our place in it.
Absolutely.
Wow. This has been quite a journey.
It has.
You know, we've explored the Pope and an Iranian president,
Yeah.
finding common ground on the idea of reason,
Right.
a God who marvels at his own creation,
Uh-huh.
the mind-boggling concept of ontological fuzziness,
Right.
and now this radical redefinition of atheism.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to wrap my head around.
Yeah, but I think Žižek's main takeaway... Yeah.
Is that we shouldn't shy away from complexity and ambiguity.
Right.
He's challenging us to question everything,
Yeah.
even our most fundamental assumptions about faith,
Uh-huh.
reason, and reality itself.
It's like he's saying, don't be afraid to get lost in the labyrinth of ideas.
Yeah.
Embrace the mystery and the uncertainty.
Right.
The real journey is in the exploration, not in finding a definitive answer.
Absolutely. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe by embracing the fuzziness,
Right.
by acknowledging that we don't have all the answers,
Right.
we open ourselves up to new possibilities and perspectives that we never could have imagined before.
So the next time you encounter something that seems irrational or paradoxical,
Yeah.
whether it's in religion, politics, science, or even your own personal life, remember Žižek's challenge.
Yes.
Don't dismiss it out of hand.
Right.
Instead, dig deeper, ask questions,
Yeah.
and be open to the possibility that there's more to the story than meets the eye.
And remember, the very act of questioning,
Yeah.
of seeking understanding.
Is a powerful act of creation in itself.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
In how we expand our minds, challenge our assumptions,
Right.
and shape our own unique understanding of the world.
Absolutely.
Perhaps the true miracle isn't about supernatural events or
Mhm.
divine interventions.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about our capacity to look at the universe with a sense of wonder and curiosity,
Yeah.
to constantly question and explore,
Right.
and to find meaning and purpose,
Yeah.
even in the face of uncertainty and ambiguity.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the journey of discovery and recognizing that the real reward is in the constant exploration and evolution of our own understanding.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to step back
Yes.
and let our listeners ponder the fuzziness of it all.
Indeed.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Žižek's Materialist Theology.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an incredible journey.
It has.
Until next time.
Take care.